What's going on, you guys? My name is Matt, and I like to do this show for a couple of reasons. I think it's fun to be able to highlight some of the errors that people find, give them their flowers, really get a chance to celebrate each card. It's fun to educate you guys on new errors that I find and that are just out there. And it's just fun to have a friend that sometimes to look through these errors, because I know I would bore people to death if I talked about this in person to them. So sometimes it's just more fun to talk about it with other people. So that's why I like doing this show. Now let's get right into this week's episode. Kicking things off, we have a Trico from Primal Clash, and this is an additional ink error. And boy is it a cool one. Boy, Trico looks like he is a masked robber who just stole something and is running away. I have not seen an ink error like this, especially one that is perfectly placed like this. Now, I always say I think it adds more value to the card if the error is actually on the Pokemon itself, and I'm a little shocked at the sale price of this. So CGC 8.5 sold for $40 this week. Really not that high, and this was a pretty large ink error, so I'm very shocked by that. You can see additional ink error stamp from CGC. So a very cool one to start off with, and I'm personally shocked that it didn't sell for more. Next up, we have that young hotshot who is climbing the ranks quickly. Here we have a Magikarp from Pokemon 151, Scarlet and Violet, and this is the iCarp error. A large repeating ink error over the first part of Magikarp there. These typically sell for around what this one sold for, $72. I would say I've seen between 40 and 90. I saw one for 40 that there was only one bidder on, and I was debating it. I didn't, and I'm kind of kicking myself now. But yeah, you can get a good deal out there. But yeah, you can definitely also pay more, like here, this person here. But I think still a great deal for this awesome card. I think this one is only going to go up in value, just like all of the old repeating errors that we have here. So look at that, really cool large ink error. It's interesting with each one that it's a different formation for each ink error that I've seen for this iCarp error. So a very cool one, and boy did it add a lot of value. Average non-error price for this is $1.10, and this sold for $72, so that gives us a 6,445% error value increase. And that's good enough number 4 this week. A very impressive card and a fun one to almost start off with. Next up, we have a very hopeful looking Eevee from a Build-A-Bear Workshop. This is a Build-A-Bear Workshop card, and this one sold for $69.99, nice Canadian, which equals out to $48.74. And what the error is, this is a crimp error. So essentially you can see that these crimp marks here line up with the plastic here. A very cool error. It's always cool when this happens. Basically, you know, it just gets misaligned in the crimping machine and actually crimps onto the card. And always cool to see a sealed product with this error. It really is, and it added, you know, a decent bit of value to this. I think we should focus more on the dollar amount rather than the percentage for this one. So this added $37 of value instead of 341%. So $37 of value for this crimp error. That's pretty darn cool. Next up, we have a Marini, and this is a holy cow miscut. Look at this. So quite a few things to unpack here. Holy cow, look at that. Look at how much this is containing another card. That's incredible. I love to see these modern cards shifted this much. It's cool because if you saw something like this from Wizards of the Coast era, you would almost assume, you'd have to assume that it is not factory cut, meaning it did not occur in the factory. But with this, it can happen just because they're printing out so much product, and you know, quality control isn't the best. And again, I think just the sheer volume of what they're pumping out is so high that these errors can occur. Boy, look at that. So I think despite this crazy miscut, we only see one alignment dot. That's kind of another interesting thing about these miscuts is you really can't predict, you know, it could be so severely miscut but only have like 1 or 2 alignment dots or none. So interesting to only see one here, but yeah, that is just so cool. Sold for $71. I think grade 9, I think you're kind of almost assuming that most modern Pokemon cards are going to get at least an 8 or a 9. So I don't think the grade 9 really helps too much with it. I think it's just the severity of it, and I think that this definitely maybe could have went for more, maybe not. But yeah, definitely it hurt it because it sold in auction. Not to take anything away from this, and maybe I'm completely wrong here, but I think it definitely could have sold for a little bit more. But again, it takes longer, so that's always the battle I am battling with, is just to see which one you'd want to do. And this person decided, get the quick sale, get the $71 for this. So average non-error price. There's nothing lower than a grade 10 for this on the price charting. So I said $5. Why not? It's my show, and I think a grade 9, it costs around $5. So 1,320% EVI, and that's not even close to the top 10 this week. So it's a fun week, crazy miscut, and let's get on to the next one. Here we go. So here we have a base set Beedrill. This sold for $239.95, and the reason it sold for that much, because it is the D.E fending error. A very, very iconic repeating error from Wizards of the Coast era, where there is a period after the D here, and repeating error, so you can find this on multiple cards, and they always sell for a lot. Now this one, cards in pretty good shape. What would we say? Grade 5, 6, maybe 7, you know, depending on the grading company. That might be a little bit generous. Either way, so cool to see. That's a lot of money. And this one, even though it sells for so much, it's never really going to be in the top 10 unless it's a weak week, a not strong week, because the average non-error price is a little bit higher. $4.40 because it is a vintage rare Pokemon card. It will sell for more. So despite all that, crazy high EVI of 5,353%, which is good enough for number 6 this week, but it's not even close to the top 10. So it's not even close to number 1, I should say. Number 1 is almost 3 times this EVI. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But yes, I always love the D.E fending error, and one I really hope to add to my collection one day. Next up, we have a card that I've been waiting to talk about, and I wanted to see one sell before I talked about it. So this is a Hitmonlee from Fossil set, and this is the Don't error. I have to think of a good name for this. How would you say that? It's basically the apostrophe is missing in Don't there. A very cool repeating error, one I saw in the Discord group I'm in first, and now I've seen a couple pop up. And you best believe when I'm looking on eBay, I am looking to try and find this error. I think it's conspicuous enough where most people won't notice it, you know, especially if you're just like selling a bunch of bulk cards or something. It could definitely slip a lot of people's mind, and it's not too well known out there currently. But yeah, a really cool one, and sold for $292.90. Now, average non-error price for this is $13. So that gives us a 2,134% error value increase. And that's good enough for number 10 this week. Card's in pretty good shape too. So love to see it. I would love to see this get graded. I saw that the person who first noticed this error actually worked with CGC and got a label for it. So CGC, I know for sure, will recognize this error if this does get graded. All right, next up, you are not seeing double. This is another D.E fending error, but this one is in noticeably worse shape. So this one was listed for 110, sold for 90, and had an EVI of 1,945%, which is not top 10. But yeah, you can see a big fold here, just a lot of wear and tear on the outside of the card. Yeah, that fold really does it in. I think without this, it definitely could have probably had $40, $50 more value to it, because, you know, sometimes people don't care about the wear and tear of this, especially if they're just gonna put it in a sleeve, and like as long as the artwork on the front of the card is clean, that's good enough for most people. And so yeah, but I think that fold really did it in. But a bent old card like this still sold for $90, so it shows how valuable this card really is. Next up, we have one I have not talked about in a while. I thought it'd be kind of fun because I saw some of the prices were higher than I remembered. So here we have a base set Vulpix, a shadowless card, so there's no shadow right here, and we got that blue butt error. This one sold for $62.95. I recall this before, you know, this could have been 15, 20 weeks ago, selling for around $30, $40 maybe. Around that range. So it was cool to see this price go up a little bit. You can see this card is in very good shape here. Really not too many imperfections on it at all. Only the ones that we want. And yeah, a very cool one to see. Again, thought it'd be fun to talk about it. And average non-air price for this shocked me a little bit. I think there might be some Vulpix fans out there, but that's why the price is higher. Around $4. So we have an EVI of around 1500%. Again, not in the top 10, but just thought it'd be fun to mention this card. Next up, we have a big dog. Here we have a PSA 9 double hollow variant Shining Gyarados from Neo Revelation. Sold for $2,000. Boy, look at that. Okay, so I used to always say, and I still do, best way to tell, it's darker, it has more hollow than the non-error. This isn't the best example, but the big thing with it too, you can see there's hollow on Gyarados here, right around here. That's a great way to tell. In the non-error, there is no white border around it. That's a good way to tell for some of them. So look for the hollow kind of appearing on Gyarados there if you are wondering. And my range of 100 to 200% EVI for double hollow variants standard edition, that holds true here with 106%. Here, I thought this one was going to be number one. When I first saw it, I saw, oh my god, this sold for 200 Australian dollars. Well, that's $124. So that knocks it down a little bit. Then I realized average non-era price is $3.14 for this, which I think is crazy. I have not seen a base set Squirtle sell for that before. But also, it turns out this was the best accepted offer price, not just one bid on this. And it sold for $30 Australian, which is $18.57, which means the air value increase is only 500%. So that really knocked down my my expectations for this from what I thought it was. I thought it was going to be like $200, and average non-air price is $1, so EVI is going to go crazy. That's not the case, but let's talk about the air here. So this right here, it's kind of like a 3D effect. One, I was not really aware people were hunting for this. It's something I kind of have to keep in mind. Whenever I look for a base set Squirtle, if I see it's a standard edition and not shadowless, I just kind of skip it because I don't think there's any really good errors with it. So I'm not sure if this is specific to this base set Squirtle to have this HP error, or if it could be in any of the base set cards. I don't know. Let me know. But yeah, I thought this would be one that would be interesting to mention. You can see here, repeating error. Yes, I don't know. I really don't, but let me know. That's what's kind of fun about this too, is to rely on the community to kind of fill in a lot of the gaps that I leave when I create these videos. Okay, big dog here. Here we have a Pikachu, a Black Star promo Pikachu, number 4 from the Warner Brothers movie, and this is the inverted stamp error. One of 30 in the world of this inverted stamp Pikachu. So cool to see. This one sold in auction, and now this is one where it kind of almost breaks the rules a little bit for whether you can get more with the best accepted offer price or an auction. If you have one that is this well known, you could definitely get a lot closer to the same price with auction. And so this one sold for $1,150 for a raw non-hollow Pokemon card. Holy cow. If you know about this card, you know the stamp should be right here. It got flipped and flipped again, and then put right down here, and that is so cool. This one looks like it's in good shape too. One thing that I never really considered before too, so someone said, I think on Reddit, they're like, you know, there actually might be more than 30 because the population report for grading companies actually have that more than 30. But that does not consider the fact that you can crack something out of a slab and resubmit it. So I don't know if this has ever been in a slab before or not, but it's in great shape. What would we say, PSA 8? I only have a couple cards that I have graded that I could kind of go off of, but like maybe PSA 7, just with the whitening here, but I think they wouldn't ding it too much for that. So very interesting. Again, almost one of a kind, 1 of 30, and that EVI goes crazy. So average non-air price for this is around $12, so that gives us a 9,531% EVI, and that's good enough for number 3 this week. Yeah, not number one. Has been number one many times over in the last 45 weeks, but not this week. Here we have a card that has a special place in my heart. This is my favorite Venusaur artwork of all time. I have this on my desk at all times. I love it, and I thought, you know what? Here's an excuse to talk about it. So here is a PSA 10 CD promo Venusaur. This is the Japanese card, and sold for $375. Now, it doesn't add that much value, but look at this photo here. Oh, that is a strong hollow bleed. I know people say hollow bleeds are more prevalent in Japanese cards. Well, that may be the case, but they're not this prevalent. This is where you actually can see a lot of the hollow, and you don't have to like have a big light and look really like. The seller did a fantastic job with this photo. This is very hard to capture sometimes, but to have a hollow this strong, it's just very cool. So yeah, EVI, nothing crazy at all. 27%, you know, standard version of this card for PSA 10 sells for around 300. But just wanted to talk about it. Again, does anyone know if there's been examples of CGC recognizing this? I think I've seen it with Evolutions cards where they'll recognize a hollow bleed, but I haven't seen it for Vintage because this would be one of the best bets you could get, I would say, to get that error label for CGC. So let me know. Next up, we have a PSA 10 Ancient Mew. This is another promo card, and this one is the Nintendo error. I like to track the pricing of these. You'll see a little bit later in this video why I think it's so interesting, but basically the price ranges usually from around $900 to $1,400, and I think that's kind of a big range. I think it's just kind of fun to track. So this one was listed for $1,150, sold for $1,050, and let's take a closer look here. So right here, see Nintendo. This is one I think I'd like to find. I don't know, this is pretty well known for most collectors, but I'd like to find one selling as a non-error and get it. I know I could pay 60 bucks for it, but maybe I want to get a deal on it. So this one is definitely going to be in my future at some point, but yeah, you can see the third N in Nintendo is missing there. So EVI 121%, that's usually around average, and the price charting has not updated this information in a long time. Next up, we have a Krabby from Fossil set, and it sold for 175 freaking dollars. Wow. And why is that? Because this is the slash error. You remove ink from it, and it makes it look like there is a fifth appendage. Very cool repeating error, and one that is very sought after. I think just because they aren't too prevalent, they're out there, so you know, enough to get its name out. But I think just the location too, and just like what it actually did with the error, I think is just so cool. You know, if you had the missing ink like up here, that'd be kind of cool, but the fact that it's on the fossil symbol there, I think really does make it iconic. And EVI is very high. Non-error price is $1.25. So that gives us a 13,900% error value increase, and that's good enough for number 2 this week. Not number 1, but number 2, and very crazy to think. I was looking back last week, the highest EVI was 5,000%, and that would be number 7 this week if it was in this auction. So a lot stronger week this week, more fun for me, but you know, every week's a fun week for me when I get to talk in front of the camera here. Creepy smile. Here's an example of how out of touch I am with modern cards. So I thought this was the Lugia card that sold for like $100. Not this error card, but the non-error. I thought this was the one. I feel like there's a different one, probably from a different set, probably completely different, but I didn't think the EVI would go this high. So this is a Lugia V from Silver Tempest, and this is a pretty solid miscut, sold for $310. Now that seems a little high to me. I get when you have a rare Pokemon card like this, or a V card, you know, a V star or V card that has a miscut, it's cool, but I really didn't think it should have sold for this much. So it's shifted to the left. We have more of a bigger border on the right. I'm not seeing an alignment dot. Now let's look on the back. Okay, so we have one alignment dot on the top left. Obviously card's in good shape. I hope that's not a fold. I think card looks like it's in good shape. So my professional opinion, because I am a professional error card viewer, this should have sold for 60, 80 bucks or something, but 310 goes crazy. Congrats to the seller. That's really cool. And the error value increase, you know, is high because the average non-error price is $5.52. So we have a 5,516% EVI, and that's good enough for number 5 this week. Holy cow. That's another fun thing about talking about these error cards is you never know. There's always outliers that can just kind of shock you, and it's kind of fun to comment on that and just yeah, disrupt the norm a little bit, and just yeah, nothing more to say about it really. Here's one that has a special place in my heart, just because I love vintage Pokemon cards. So here we have a base set Mewtwo, and this is just shifted quite a bit. I don't think we have a miscut here. I don't see an alignment dot, not in the front. Oh, misalignment. Okay. So you can see it's just slightly shifted on the back, and on the front shifted quite a bit. So that is categorized as misalignment then. But even though it's lacking that alignment dot, I still think this is shifted enough where it definitely deserves to be sold for this much. Even if, you know, a little bit more even, I would say. This sold for $85 and had an EVI of 464%. I think printer hickeys on fire-type Pokemon are my favorite. So here we have a base set Arcanine, and this is a printer hickey on the top of the card. Sold for $48.78, and it says in the listing, smiley face. Look at that! We got a little smiley face. This definitely was worth the money someone paid for it. That's incredible. I've never seen that much detail in a printer hickey that actually shows that. Boy, it looks like almost like one of the workers 30 years ago did this. They thought it'd be like a funny prank or something, and now here we are talking about it in 2025. That's awesome. Card got some wear and tear, mainly on the edges. Again, you know, slap this sucker in a sleeve and you'll never see it, and you'll just get to enjoy that smiley face every day, smiling back at you. So yeah, EVI of 1400%. Not top 10, but that smiley just makes my day, and I hope it makes yours too. What's that? It's saying subscribe. All right, next up we have a Ditto, and this is a Japanese fossil Ditto, and this is a crimp error. A very cool one. Now, one thing, I have a visual here I'll show you. Well, first off, this sold for $105, but let's take a closer look. This does not look like a normal crimp. So here I have just a pack, an empty pack of base set cards. Now look at that crimp right there. I don't think that is the same pattern as that. That looks more like the back right here. You see how it's kind of that crisscross pattern? That looks to be more consistent. Or yeah, it's more consistent to this. So I don't know how that happened. The Japanese cards, or specifically Japanese fossil cards, come in different packs where they were crimped differently. Let me know, because I really don't know too much about that. But either way, sold for a lot. $105 when the average non-error price is around $9. Very solid. So we have 1000% EVI, and yeah, cool error. Let's see it from the back real quick. There it is. Look at that. Ooh. That's cool. Next up, we had another big dog sale. Someone had to bring in the big dogs. They had to get PSA to facilitate the sale for them. So this is a CGC Pristine 10 base set Clefairy with the black dot error. CGC does consignment. I think you can set the price for whatever you want, because I saw they were selling like just a standard Pokemon card, not an error. That's probably worth like $1, and they were selling it for like $200. So you can definitely set your price for them, and this sold for a lot, but now I don't remember. I'm not going to look back. Did this sell before? I feel like someone definitely sold this, and I saw it sell, and then I saw it listed again, and then it sold again. I'm not sure if someone was having trouble, and so they were like, you know what, let's just consign with PSA, because I'm sure PSA doesn't F around when it comes to getting payment. So I wonder if this is that same card, because you don't see a Pristine 10 card like this with this error pop up at all. Was this like a one of one? It definitely could be. Oh, well, that's cool. Well, I don't think I showed the back of the card last time. So if you can recall, though, this is maybe 20 episodes ago, 10 episodes ago. You know, don't worry about it. Either way, very cool. So they have the actual when it was pulled. That would be cool to see. I wonder if that's actually on video somewhere. We should go look. I'm not going to look, though. So $2,000 for this card. The average non-error price is $334. For grade 7, that's not right, but that's for pristine 10, so just ignore this. Let's not look at percentage, let's look at value. This added $1,640 of value to this card. Wow, definitely a one of one and a really, really cool repeating error here. Yeah, love to see it. Okay, so this is where I was saying it's kind of interesting to track the pricing. I've never seen this before, but here we have a PSA 10, you know, Nintendo error. This looks to be a old label from PSA. It's like, you know, miscut a little bit. It's up a little bit. It just looks old, you know. And funny enough, no, I didn't. And I messaged the seller to see if this was right. So this was listed for $1,250. I'd say well within the market average for this. This says it sold for $500. That would be a steep discount if this actually sold for that. I don't know if that's the case. Holy cow. If it is, someone got the deal of a lifetime. I think even if you're trying to get rid of this quickly, sell it for $900 and it would sell within a week. I guarantee it. You know, I've seen it so many times. Contacted the seller. Not to peel back the curtain too much here. Hi, I see this sold for $500. Is that correct? I don't know. We might never know. Next up, we have a gorgeous card. Here we have a first edition Dragonite from Fossil Set, and this is the incomplete hollow error, or the mirror hollow error. Sold for $1,000 through the consignment shop Z&G Emporium. There we go. And $1,000 for this. Look at that. Now, unfortunately, they don't show, you know, I think with this one, they got the system down where they show a front and the back, top down. I would love for them to show different angles so you can really appreciate the mirror hollow here. But if PSA says it is, you know, that's good enough for me. I just want to appreciate it a little bit more. But how cool. $1,000 for this. Obviously, a very valuable card on its own. This is, I put grade 6. This is a grade 8. I got that pricing right. Okay. Ignore this again, but so around triple the value, I would say here, than this. So cool to see. $700 of value for this Mirror Hollow. And again, Mirror Hollow can be prevalent in any Wizards of the Coast hollows that they manufactured. So you'll see it in every set, from first edition base set to just a standard fossil set and everything in between. Very cool to see, and that's a lot of money. Holy cow. Next up, we have a first edition Machamp, and this is a skewed miscut. Sold for $185.30, and look at this. Twisted quite a bit, actually. So you got kind of a weird corner here. You know, this is definitely not lined up properly. You got thin, you got thick. The back just as messed up. Very cool to see. Got some whitening, but you can see the miscut kind of was stronger than the whitening, so it definitely that's why it sold for so much still. And had an EVI of 1300%. Okay, this one I actually need you guys to comment on. I know I say that and every YouTuber says, oh, comment. I want to know. You see this Kabutops here, obviously a crazy miscut. I know a lot of people, if this was not graded by PSA, they would say, oh, this is not factory cut because Toys R Us sent out those like mini sheets. I think that was from Fossil. And so I think there were a lot more NFC cards from Fossil Set due to those mini uncut sheets that Toys R Us sent out. But I don't think you can fool PSA. Please let me know if that is the case. I know you know, you'll see like examples of vintage Italian cards that are like miscuts straight down the middle, where it's like half one card, half another card. And that is legit because, you know, like people have found the other cards from it. So is this one that is well known? And you can't fool PSA, right? Like, I like to know. But either way, let's talk about just how rare and valuable and crazy this miscut is. So let's assume this is a legit miscut. This sold for $800. This is a PSA 7 with that miscut label from PSA. And I love it. That's so cool. You know I love my vintage cards. You can see stage 1's just popping up here, and stage 1 here is cut off. That's what I love about it. All the information missing on the top is filled in on the bottom. But this is almost cut just to where you can't see alignment dot. You got just a tiny little one right there. And let's see on the back side. Doesn't look like you see an alignment dot. So again, there goes that confirms my theory that alignment dots are kind of hard to come by sometimes. Like, you know, you can't take them for granted. But what an incredible card. Average non-error price for this for grade 7 is around $28. So that gives us a 2,783% EVI, which is good enough for number 8 this week. But please do let me know. You can't fool PSA, right? And also, there have been like confirmed examples of this that are legit from the factory that were miscut like this. Next up, we have a cool repeating error for the first edition Machamp. This is the green dot error, sold for $1,250 freaking dollars for a PSA 10. Green dot right here, repeating on the H in HP. Standard PSA 10 sells for $831, so still a lot, but this added, what, $400 of value to the card? So very cool, very solid, and that's a lot of money. Next up, we have a base set War Turtle with the Evolution Box error. Listed for $99.99, sold for $87, and let's take a look. Come on, internet. There we go. Got the tiny Wartortle right there in stage 1, and card, I was going to say it is in good shape. That's more than whitening. That would hurt you quite a bit on grading. But again, just look at it from the front, and you're like, oh, that's a good card. Just slap that sucker in the sleeve, put it in the binder, don't worry about it. EVI of 2,125%, and just barely got edged out. I believe this is number 11 this week. Next up, we have a non-hollow error Dark Dragonite. Let's talk about the error first before anything else. So, Dark Dragonite non-hollow should be 2282, but this is 582, which should be for the hollow. This is signed. Very cool. I don't know who that is. I don't think the original owner has this anymore because it got sold. Unless you're selling to the same person that has the same name as you, but that kind of limits your pool a little bit. I digress. This is not a PSA 10. Not a PSA 10, but I categorize it as PSA 10 because I feel like autograph is like the same as PSA 10. I just wanted to do it. I knew it wouldn't be top 10, but yeah, how very cool. So you have an auto 10. I'm not sure what really constitutes the grading criteria for that, but either way, this sold for $2,400. That's a lot. Average non-error price is $141 for a PSA 10. So this maybe could have been top 10, but I don't know. Again, it's my show, and this card looks like it actually really is in good shape. Like, you could say this is PSA 10 just by looking at this, and I think you could have me fooled. So we'll stick with that. 1,600% EVI, very, very strong, especially for this valuable of a card. And yeah, let's get into the next one. Now here we have the same card, same error, but this card might actually get a PSA 10. So you know this is legit when they break out the black light. This is where you can see all the little scuffs, the little print lines, anything. And this looks pretty darn perfect to me. You can see the 582 there, so this is the non-hollow error. Scroll through. Back, like maybe they could get you for that. Maybe it'd be a 9, I don't know. Either way, this would sell for a lot. Unfortunately, price charting does not have the information for the standard edition non-hollow error, only the first edition. So we don't know, but I think we can safely assume, first off, this is a lot of money. $610 for a raw card, non-hollow card is crazy, but I think if you're getting into that grade 8, 9, and 10, which I think this is grade 9 at least, you're going to make your money back. So I definitely, as long as the card gets to the seller in okay shape, you're going to have a safe bet here. But that's an expensive bet too, $610. Average non-error price, $13, because this is still a rare Pokemon card, which now that I think about it is kind of high for a non-hollow. Either way, yeah, so that gives us a 4,597% error value increase, which is good enough for number 7 this week. A very cool card indeed. One more time, PSA 10 Nintendo error, old label. This isn't the same seller, is it? And they just canceled the other sale and said it sold for 500? No, it wouldn't be. Okay, so yeah, same Nintendo error, we know the drill. This one sold for 900, so this is before the weird sale of 500. This is the cheapest I've seen it sell for in 45 weeks, is $900. Now you might not be able to see me anymore because I see this is grayed out. Oh, that might be a pain. Either way, we'll keep going quickly here. Next up, we have a base set Beedrill, and this is not an error. This guy, he says it's a D. offending error. No, it's not. And I contacted him, or I assume it's a him because it says Tony. I said, hello, back in October 8th. Unfortunately, this is not the D. offending error. Well, they showed me because Yeah, it sold for a lot. I lost the screen here. Don't look at this. But so unfortunately, this made it in the top 10 because someone might have purchased this for $100. So it's a dang shame if that's the case. You see repeating error. This is not an error. This is just a standard Beedrill. Not this one, but the one that was listed. So yeah, this is number 9 this week, unfortunately. So always hate to see that. Thoughts and prayers to the buyer. Hopefully they can get a refund. But yeah, that's that one sucks. Now this card that I've been showing for a while, here we have a Charmander from Team Rocket set, and I don't know what the name of this is. The D error, where it's basically a black ink dot over the D here, and a very interesting one. Repeating error, and I didn't think it sold for this much. This one sold for $32 in auction. I get the card's in good shape, but I bought 2 of these before, not too long ago, you know, 3-4 months ago, and each one was like $2 each, and they sent me 2 of them. They didn't know it was an error. I was surprised they had 2 of the same one. Very interesting, but yeah, EVI of 1500% for this. All right, I'm back in lower quality. I think my my phone might have died. That's what I use for filming usually, so we'll wrap this up quickly though. Next up, we have an interesting one. Here we have a Kabutops from Fossil set, and this says there's a yellow ink overspray error. So it sold for $61, and you can see this is just an additional ink kind of sprayed all over the hollow here. Very cool. Definitely seen this in other sets. Haven't seen it on specifically Kabutops, but I know it's prevalent in other sets, and yeah, a very cool one. I hope they get this graded. This would definitely get an additional ink error from CGC, and card's in pretty good shape too, so I think whoever got this got a pretty darn good deal of $61. So next up we have XY Evolutions Charizard, the 2016 one with a crazy hollow bleed. Now you know Charizard sells for a lot, even though this is kind of like a modern set almost. Sells for $58 with the non-error card. This one sold for $300. And look at that, just a gorgeous card. Love the hollow bleed through that. Got some wear and tear. The set is 9 years old at this point. Are those couple print lines? I don't know. Either way, strong hollow bleed. Very cool to see. And EVI of 400%, which if you don't know is very good for a Charizard. Charizards typically don't have high EVIs just because that is such a bigger chase card and just has more value already, so it's hard to add additional value to it. On to the number 1 card this week, we have a Krabby from Fossil set, just like the other one, but this one sold for just a little bit more. Maybe due to the condition, there was honestly not that big of a price difference. Was it like $10 or something? But that was enough to give this one the edge. So again, let's take a look at it. Listed for $212, sold for $188. There's that claw there. I don't think this ranges in size or severity at all. I know some do. This one looks pronounced, but I don't think it's more pronounced than any other one. And card is in pretty good shape. Kind of hard to tell by these photos, but overall, you know, doesn't seem to have too many major flaws to it. So, valuable card in good condition will sell for a lot, and the error value increase for this 14,940%, and obviously number 1 this week on their list of top 10. Oh, this quality kills me. I do not like this. Thank you so much for watching. Fun week. Subscribe. See you next week.